Welcome back to another episode of the Movie Date with Rob and Matt, where I definitely did not forget to record the intro when we were talking about the Suicide Squad, and I'm definitely not re-recording it right now for the movie you're about to hear. Anything you want to add, Matt?
No, it's just I feel you. We had a good talk.
We talked about David Ayer's Suicide Squad cut. They should release it. And that's pretty much it.
And I just mostly had a big complaint about the hardline Snyders and
troll.
All that.
The online troll forum is alive and well.
It was a very good conversation. Sometimes those things just get lost.
And I am sad that you probably won't hear it. I'm sure we'll talk about it some other time.
We'll in another episode we'll give an addendum and pop it in as a way to talk about this. Maybe even before this episode gets released. Who knows?
Anyway. Here's the Suicide Squad review.
Okay.
So I think it's fair to say we were both really excited for it, so we can get the expectations out of the way.
Right.
What did you think about it?
Despite how I feel about the overall effect, I of course really enjoyed this movie. It is as much of a popcorn movie as you can possibly get. When the jokes landed, they landed. When the gore landed, it landed. It has despite its zaniness, its wackiness, its cartooniness, it's got a big gushy heart in the middle of it, particularly with a handful of characters. And I would say that the new characters that are introduced in this movie are very much the core of this, to the point that I wish it were more the core of this, and even it actually is. I feel like story-wise and things like that, it's a big ol' who gives a shit, and I think that's detrimental in the end. I found myself walking away completely forgetting big parts of it. And
I don't know if I forgot any parts of it.
Well, it's not forget, it's just it didn't land with me.
It fades away into the background.
Yeah, it fades away in the background of the other bombast. That being said, it is very well made, very well paced, and very delightful. Fun. It's a fun movie. And it brings the fun. It's kind of a big, like, bloody over the top party. Comparing it, I'll say this, and this is something I thought of, and it really relates to a lot of this character. Birds of Prey is a far more succinct narrative, and I feel like they should have taken more notes from it. And we'll get to it as we break it down a little more. That's my feeling on it.
All right.
And I'll get, when we talk about spoilers and we talk about the characters and everything, I'll say I'll present the thing of one big thing being taken out of this movie and see how it affects it.
Okay.
Because I feel like we could talk about it after we're done.
I think I really enjoyed this movie. I'm worried that the tone of the movie might actually harm the movie rather than help it in some ways. Mm-hmm. And I'll get to it in a second.
Which I've seen that happening with people I've talked to about it.
Yeah. I feel like the need to make it so zany and wacky actually kind of hurts the idea of what a Suicide Squad is. And I feel like a Suicide Squad is supposed to be, you send a team of people who you don't care about if they live or die to do a mission that is pretty much impossible and will almost certainly kill them. But
it needs to be within a level of success that something gets done. It's just
otherwise you're just
we don't want to send. It's also underhanded. It's also done shadowy.
And they also with the
this ain't with Justice League jurisdiction.
Yeah, and also with the intention of knowing these people can't be trusted, and you have to keep your eye on them because they will do shady shit. Mm-hmm. A Suicide Squad isn't really send a bunch of super like C-list supervillains to save the world.
Right.
That was one of my bigger critiques of the last one, which is like, do we need to save the world?
Right, and that's probably the big critique about the whole thing related to Enchantress and everything. It's like, could we not make this like one of the podcasts I listened to was saying, could we not make this just like somebody has kidnapped Hawkman and we'll kill Hawkman if we don't do something? The stakes could be a lot lower.
And in fact, I would argue like stakes, when you're watching a good movie.
Which actually I have the complete opposite feeling about this one, where I'm like, the stakes need to be a little more precise.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but I think you're going to agree with the reasoning.
Yeah.
Which is because
This movie's messy.
Stakes don't have much to do with like how serious the threat is.
No.
Stakes have to do with how much you care about the people.
Right.
And if they die, like you would feel there is one character
This
death.
movie succeeds on that, where it's like the stakes feel so ridiculous, yet your heart is still in with this crew of characters.
I could easily watch this movie and be like, really, the Justice League would just show up right now.
Right.
And I'm like, but like, I'm not gonna do that because they're not gonna get all those actors back or whatever.
Right.
Like,
and also like
like we know that
you suspend the disbelief of the disbelievable world.
Yeah, if you've seen the trailers, Starro shows up, and I could easily just be like, well, Superman would show up and laser his arms off. Like, yeah. That would probably happen, but that's not what the movie's about, essentially. No. And I don't disagree that maybe the movie shouldn't be about Starro, because I think the Starro part is I didn't hate it, but I also don't love it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the end of the first Iron Man movie. I'm like, I whatever it. I kind of just watch it more for all the characters.
I do like Jeff Bridges as a villain.
Sure,
I like him. Hold still, you little prick. That's one of my favorite
Iron
lines.
Man 3 with what's his face.
Right. Okay, that's a little more fair. Right. With Guy Pearce, I'm like, and we talked about that movie recently, and I was just like, I'm still like.
In fact, like
I liked the journey before the goal.
And also, I like the fact that when I read Suicide Squad comics, which I have read some, and when I watch like some Suicide Squad animated stuff, one of my favorite parts of the mission is always the inevitable fuckery from one of the Suicide Squad who's not on the same page and does not want to cooperate. There's a really great one between Deadshot and Bronze Tiger, and
it's in the animated
Suicide
one?
Squad Hell to Pay, which is great. It's the one where they have to find the get out of hell free card. Did I tell you about that one?
Yes.
And if you have the card, when you die, you go straight to heaven or whatever. And Deadshot pulls a great one at the end where he slips it under Bronze Tiger's fingers because Bronze Tiger lived a life of killing people and he is ashamed of himself. And in order to give him a peaceful death, they have this great little moment. He slips it under, it lights up, and he dies, giving and showing Deadshot that Deadshot does in fact have a heart after a movie of being kind of an asshole. And then he saves his life, essentially, and makes his life worth living. And then he gives it to Waller. And he goes, here's what you wanted. And she goes, is this it? It feels kind of like empty or whatever. And he goes, I don't know what you were expecting it to light up or something. And he walks away. As like, fuck you, Amanda Waller.
Right.
I don't like you, and I never have, and you earned this. But like, but also like people like Copperhead are on the Suicide Squad, and he tries to book it plenty of times, but he can't kill them. Or they can't kill him because he grabs a hostage or something.
Right.
Like
he knows the game.
Nobody in this movie really does that.
Right.
They're all kind of they're all team players, and I don't buy it.
That is, that everyone's kind of
like they talk a big game, but when it's time to do it, they are all.
A lot of this has to do with the cold open versus the movie we're actually watching.
Yeah, and I like the cold open. Smartest thing James Gunn could have done.
Right.
No big intro, but with a big thing he just let's just start so I make fun of all the animes. They have like a 3-minute long Japanese song, and then the first 30 seconds is the last 30 seconds of the last episode, and you're 5 minutes in and nothing's happened. they just start the movie, and I'm like, great.
And it's really
because
smart.
we get more time with the characters because of that.
And it's really smart because we're already in the movie, but now the other characters are already there.
Yeah,
it's the team A, team B. We'll get to it. We'll talk about it. Because this movie has to be talked about with spoilers. We have to just get into the plot. Long story short,
they got to stop
a group of miscreants who are locked up in Belle Reve prison, which is the worst of the worst, mostly chalked up full of supervillains. But in this case, you don't have somebody like El Diablo. At most you get.
I'm not gonna lie. I miss him.
Yeah.
I miss him in this movie.
You only get like a couple of different metahumans. The biggest one being Polka Dot Man in this respect.
Yeah.
I guess armed detachable limb character is also.
Mongal's is super powered as well.
Right. That's a weird one because it's from somebody who's supposed to be from another dimension or another planet. But mostly it's your very kind of Batman fare. Tech assholes.
I feel like not having one or two clearly powerful metahumans kind of hurt. I mean, you have King Shark. He's looks pretty tough.
And he is very tough, but it turns out he's pretty invulnerable to a lot of things.
Yeah. I kind of miss having a guy who is like your fulcrum that you build the plan around. Because Deadshot does that a lot in the comic books.
Well, I feel like I feel like
he'll be like, we have Killer Croc. Let's take advantage of that and use because he's tough.
Well,
build
James
the plan
Gunn
around
kind of even says like, I found a character like Polka Dot Man, and he ends up being this asset because he's a mentally unstable,
He's quite
traumatized
powerful.
individual, but he also happens to have a power that's incredibly. It is more powerful than anybody else around.
Yeah,
and
pretty
it
deadly.
is a story literally about the meekest of us overcoming insurmountable odds. Whether that needs to be there or not, it still is.
Well,
it
I
still
don't even mind the
fits.
need to be there, but I just felt like it was there's a great opportunity here to either, like you said, make the plot about we got to get this person who's really important, like make it a Hawkman, or you could make it.
And that's more related to the first Suicide
Make it a
Squad.
Green Lantern who's been captured or something.
Right.
Like you could do.
I'm
something
fine with this pastiche of 80s action movies where it's like Commando
Sure.
or something like that. That works really well for your Carnage.
They would handle
Because
they
you
would
need-
kidnap a Hawkman.
Yeah.
They're
They cut a Hot Man's wings off.
Yeah. I just think it would be a good opportunity to like do some cameos that mean something, as opposed to like, hey, here's this Calendar Man. You remember him? Like,
I did.
It's
Like,
funny.
it's
but
funny.
Like, it's inconsequential.
Right. And considering for a lot of us, Calendar Man, if you know The Long Halloween, is
Yeah.
kind of a really interesting character.
And
As opposed to just James Gunn saying, "Fuck you, Polka Dot Man." It's funny.
And Sean Gunn.
Sean Gunn, also Sean. Yeah,
yeah,
Sean
and
Gunn.
reading-
Who did I say? Sean Bean.
No, you said James Gunn.
Oh, it's his brother. Who also plays Weasel.
Yeah.
As well.
Reading his first idea for this movie, which was there's two first ideas that he had.
I'm very curious about these. I don't know these.
One of them I love, one of them I don't. And you'll probably be able to figure out which one. One of them is they have to fight Superman because he's mind controlled. Boo. I don't like mind controlled Superman because they're kind of already doing that in the Justice League build-up.
Right.
Eventually he's going to be brain controlled or whatever. The other one is they have to get Deathstroke. And he's the bad guy, which makes me, because Deathstroke is a metahuman.
Right.
I love that idea, and it would be kind of something similar. He had a similar idea, but like they couldn't get everything like squared away, so they kind of went with this instead. Also, Bloodsport was just like this is a small critique. I think by the end of the movie, Idris Elba has differentiated himself enough that I actually really like him and want to see him again.
Yeah.
But he is Deadshot light.
Yeah.
He's a black dude who's a mercenary. He's got a daughter. Like it's literally the same thing.
Except they do subvert that a lot by the first time they meet, and they're just like, "Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you." I hate that you were even born. It's like I get it.
It's good.
But I think Gunn. Because this is something that James Gunn is. Because I saw some people say that this movie's mean spirited at times. I'm like, no, not really. In
I
fact,
might
it's
disagree
almost
with you,
too. It's almost more big-hearted with some of these characters than I thought it would be.
I think an example of like a mean-spirited thing is that, do you want to talk about like there's a big action sequence that happens that turns out to be a big mistake at the end?
Well,
Or in
it's
the
not a
middle?
mistake.
They
Oh
think
no,
it's-
no. Oh, I know what you're talking
They
about.
think it's necessary, and then it's
And
totally
then it's like,
not. And they just killed a bunch of people for no reason.
Right. It's like, oh, okay.
That is a little. I kind of did feel like the mean-spiritedness. I kind of see where they're coming
Well, the
from.
tone gets kind of you just completely, the tone is entirely. So the thing I want to give to this movie is, a lot of people say this is James Gunn returning to his trauma roots. His stuff back with, I mean, Lloyd Kaufman shows up in the movie very briefly. It's a return to schlock. It's a return to cartoony, over the top schlock where you have a melodramatic, sentimental story, and then as much guts and gore and violence and cruelty as you can get away
would say
with while
that's
everybody's
probably true.
everybody's giggling. Because James Gunn is of the school of Toxic Avenger, like where it's like, I'm the Toxic Avenger, and then like a kid's head gets run over. Like you got to show as much special effects as possible so you can see blood splatter. That's the sentimentality he's coming into this movie, except with a bigger budget. And so there's still this melodramatic warm-heartedness to it, but also like people are getting their heads blown off, and you're having a good time with that.
Yeah.
Is there a way that they could have toned that a little better? I think so.
Yeah. Do you want to get? So
Let's get into the
It's
story.
pretty clear that we both like it. Do you want to start getting a little spoiler heavy?
Yep.
Okay.
I think you can't not with this Suicide Squad. Go see it. Go see it. Go see it in the big screen if you can. It's worth seeing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's a fun movie.
Unless
you're gonna have a good
you're
time.
afraid of getting sick, in which case,
Yeah, don't do that. Watch it on HBO
for free.
Max, but definitely watch it. It's a great popcorn movie.
We literally got popcorn. We never do that.
I didn't get popcorn for The Green Knight. I got popcorn
No,
for
of course.
this.
You got popcorn for the green eye. I'm like, you're an idiot.
Yeah, I'm not getting popcorn for that. But I definitely was like,
You'll lose your appetite.
Butter me
a
up,
third of the way
buddy.
through. But I'll start with this will start off our spoilers because this is my first criticism. It's only one of a handful I have. And what I wrote is, I was kind of worried they killed too many of them off too early.
Like half of them.
Yeah.
Like all of them.
I think that's
I
a
get
small mistake.
Yeah, I get the joke.
Oh, the
and
joke is funny.
I appreciate the joke.
Yeah.
I still think I still wanted to see. I still wanted to see each of these. What we discover is the movie opens where, particularly it's focused on Michael Rooker's character Savant. They bring him into the Suicide Squad, which is of course run by Rick Flag, Joel Kinnaman,
who I will say I think he sneaks in this movie as like one of the better parts of it for me.
I think it should have been more.
He's a
of
little
it.
Captain America-y, which means he's not that interesting.
But that butts heads with John Cena's Peacemaker.
Yes.
Because they're essentially mirrors of each other, but very different points of view.
Yeah. But even like some of his jokes I felt were better, where he was like,
well, he even said it
y'all
himself.
were coming
Like,
to save me? And he was like, yeah, it was a really good plan, too. And he was like really pouty about it. Like,
a really good plan, too.
Yeah.
Well, I think he even mentions it. I saw like an interview with him where he's just like, I get to be a little sillier. I get to be a little more fun. It's like I get to revisit this character in a completely different way. Yeah. And I think a little bit maybe it should have been a little more of his movie. Not as the lead, but not like as the focal point character, but maybe should have gotten a little more focus. Yeah. But he's leading this team, and of course we get Harley Quinn returning, Margot Robbie, big sell for this movie, and I think
she gets to do a lot more here than I think I initially thought she would. Sure. I am a little worried that when Harley Quinn is in a movie as a pop culture entity, we just put on these rose-colored glasses. And sometimes I'm sick of it. Here, I think they balance it about as good as you can.
I'm going to save it. A lot of a big criticism I have is about Harley Quinn being in this movie.
Okay.
And I will throw something out later after we're done with the main plot to say here's how one of the things I would change.
Okay, great. Let's save it for then.
Yeah.
But
she's in it. Captain Boomerang, Jai Courtney returns.
Here's my problem with we were talking about the opening scene. Let's talk about this real quick.
Because this is the opening scene, though.
Yeah. Because they put together the team, including like Weasel and Captain Boomerang,
TDK,
Blackguard is there.
Blackguard, who is Pete Davidson.
Javelin, who's the German guy.
Bowler Frog.
Yeah, he's great.
He's great.
I think that's all of them. Savant, Mongal's there, and then Rick Flag and Harley Quinn are also on that team.
Yeah, and Boomerang.
Which, by the way, a lot of them get killed. It is kind of implied this was always going to happen, but they obviously don't know that. And if you want your mission, this is why the joke doesn't actually make sense when you start to think about it. If you want your mission to be successful, you would tell them, expect heavy resistance when you touch down on that beach. As opposed to Blackguard just being like, hey guys, I got it. And I love Pete Davidson worthlessly getting killed immediately.
Yeah, his face just explodes.
Yeah,
he also does get a great laugh at me where they're on the helicopter jiving back and forth, and he's like, what is this thing right here? And he's like, is
it a dog? And Captain Boomerang like, does that look like any dog you know, mate? And he's sitting next to Weasel, and he's like, maybe it's a werewolf. He's like, you said me it's a fucking werewolf, and that got me a good laugh. Yeah,
I was like,
I also love the part. I also made the comment like, there's a part where he's like standing next to a guard, and the guard's like, and he keeps like pretending to reach for his gun or whatever, and the guard's like, don't do it. I feel like you would never want Blackguard
anywhere on
the team.
Yeah.
For reasons because I feel like I could beat him in a fight. And if he's on the Suicide Squad, like you'd want people that at least look like they have a skill set. And I think he looks like he has no skill set.
He's got because he's based on literally just a group of like henchmen essentially.
Yeah.
And so he's just Blackguard, but Blackguard's not an actual character.
Not really.
He's more like a team. There's a team of Blackguards.
He's just a guy
as
with
throwaway
a gun.
as possible.
Like in the first Suicide Squad, one of the things things that
Well,
I
technically,
found,
so is Peacemaker.
Yeah.
Except he's very good with a
well,
gun.
but we'll get to that in a second
Right.
because there's a better argument to be made for him because in the first Suicide Squad, one of the things I punched the movie for is I'm like, most of these people are worthless here. Slipknot, guy who climbs stuff. Oh wow, you mean like all soldiers with stuff? Like I just feel like, with the exception of El Diablo, which by the way, just promise him his freedom.
He'll get the job
And then
done.
he'll help you,
Right.
Or whatever. Like you're gonna save the world.
Katana
you're gonna get to
maybe
be a
is
good
as
guy,
well,
or Katana. But like,
You got some heavy
like,
hitters there.
Does someone like Captain Boomerang or Harley Quinn or even Deadshot, skilled though he may be, like, do they replace? And to be fair, they do surround them with a bunch of soldiers. Are they better than like trained soldiers with guns?
Right.
They're
If you
not.
filled out more of this crew with a couple of the Rick Flags, you could get the job
'Cause
done.
My point is like the soldiers they have and like El Diablo, you could fix it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, but here's the thing, like if you're gonna surround, like, but here they don't do that. There are no other soldiers. It's just the Suicide Squad. Why? Because America can't be seen
Meddling in these
doing
affairs.
this. So it makes more sense. Plus, John Cena is like, he is a soldier with a gun who just happens to be in prison or
Right.
whatever. So they can coerce him in that way.
And this is something we talked
You don't even
about.
look like you'd have to coerce him. He would just do what you want.
Yeah.
Because he's that patriotic. or whatever.
He's the absolute. Though he does some very interesting things. I really like John Cena in this.
He's really good.
He is one of the things that steals this movie a little bit, and I'll be very interested to see more Peacemaker. I think we talked about this. I wish we could have gotten little vignettes of each of these characters,
Or how some of them,
how some of them ended up in prison.
Like Mongal would be a great one.
Yeah.
But Blackguard, I could not give a fuck about how he got captured.
Right, but that'd be interesting.
Bloodsport might be cool. Maybe
Yeah.
like Superman is the one who brings him down but gets injured in the process. That'd be cool.
Or you see the moment where it's like you can see the shadow of it, and he's got the sniper rifle, and
Get a stunt double and shoot him from the back as Superman or something.
right, and almost have him be like, "Fuck me, I did it," and then he's like completely sieged,
Yeah.
like by the rest of the Justice
Immediately.
League.
You need to explain, like, if he put Superman in the hospital, like,
He got lucky. I think well, it doesn't really say.
but like
that.
if he did that, like they would never let him out.
No.
But like, so I think that might be a mistake. But like, a lot of people are like, Superman would never be like. A lot of people got really mad at James Gunn for that. I'm like, I don't care.
It doesn't really
about that.
matter because it's such a ridiculous movie to begin with that
Yeah.
it's like the one guy in Superman's entire career who got ICU'd from a kryptonite bullet
It's just a dude.
was just an assassin.
Yeah.
Sometimes that happens.
I wouldn't have minded like some of the stuff we got in the first Suicide Squad, which is like some Batman cameo stuff. Would have really been cool,
Well-
especially for like someone like
Maybe.
Well, maybe for someone like
Or like with
what's a
like
good
we
example?
saw Boomerang with the Flash.
Yeah,
Like we
that's what I
saw
mean.
like some
Like,
connection.
well, you see him take down Deadshot in the first movie,
Right.
Which is I think was pretty cool, especially because there's the double. I mean, this isn't matter for this movie, but like Deadshot has a psychological aversion where wherever he's faced with Batman, he seizes up and he cannot hit him. It's like the one, like he's like bullseye. I missed. I never miss. And every time Batman confronts him from then on, he is
haywires. He's like,
terrified.
"Brr."
So like, I love that idea. They don't really like hammer on it too much in the movie, but like the Flash, the King Shark is a Flash villain.
Yeah.
Have the Flash in a cameo, like
Yeah.
something like that. I think would have, and I understand James Gunn's like, I'm telling my own story, but like that would have just added extra seasoning for me. I think the
it wouldn't
big
have
reason
hurt.
with killing off all these characters immediately is you're doing it for a joke, whereas the real thing about a Suicide Squad is it shouldn't necessarily be funny, but rather should be shocking when they die.
And
but they all die all at once.
Right.
Whereas like it
And I
would have
mean,
been,
it is brutal.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
Mongal
yeah.
gets burned to death. Blackguard gets his head blown off,
Like a big chunk
and then
of it, yeah.
fucking Captain Boomerang gets shredded.
Yeah.
like, and it's sad. Like, it's a moment like him and you get to see this like
Well, we spent most of it laughing.
right
So, like, I don't
because
know
it's
how sad it was.
hysterical. It's great,
But I feel like
but
it would
but
be
it is like this moment where it's like already. Because Harley Quinn, Rick Flag, and Boomerang have this like new meat here. We've survived a few of these, and I think that there could have been something there where like we've survived some of these missions before. The Suicide Squad's lost people, but we've been around. Waller fucked us,
Yeah.
and Boomerang got killed because of it.
Yeah.
And instead,
Well, just imagine how much more like impactful it would have been. A great example of this is like a movie like Edge of Tomorrow, where every time Tom Cruise dies, you're like, oh shit! Like, so an example would have been someone like maybe Mongal. It seems like she's not killable. Maybe for the whole movie, she goes like, I don't know, a whole hour without being killed, and then they use some sort of weapon made by the Tinkerer to just like incinerate her from inside out.
Right.
You're like, oh shit! Like,
Yeah.
like they would have had a lot more impact.
Because this is
Because
we're
really, all you're doing is like we have a team of 6 people,
Right.
and we just added the ones at the beginning for a quick
Right.
joke to let you know what kind of movie you're in.
And it
for.
also plays with the advertising. It's a play on the advertising, like, oh, we got all these characters. It's a big stack cast, and they don't make it out 5 minutes in. And in fact, so I'm like, again, I appreciate the joke. However, the alternate of that, where we got to see more of this, would be way fun.
Yeah.
But I get the joke. And also the joke is like the old gruff savant sees battle and it's just like, and then runs away.
Yeah.
And she's like, gotta blow your head up.
Yeah. Also, like javelin would have been a cool idea. If like, I like what that he gives her the javelin, and it becomes like kind of a running joke.
And he's like, he's trying to say something, and then just,
or just keep around Nathan Fillion and just have him like look around a corner, and then just like a sniper rifle takes his head off.
Yeah.
It's like a couple of those throughout the movie would make me actually.
Well, which is why I
care
wish
a
we
little
could have
more.
got to see them be more badass to begin with. Like, these guys can go up against a bunch of Banana Republic mercenaries, even if they got ambushed.
Yeah, certainly
like,
Savant
like
could.
TDK. Like, it was Nathan Fillion just like slaps guys. It would have been great if it started at that and he just grabs a shotgun and just blows a guy's head off.
Yeah.
At least, Boomerang, we got to see him cut some heads off with the boomerangs.
Because apparently, if you hurt those arms, he still gets hurt.
Right.
Which means like that is a dangerous power to use.
Right, especially if you're just floating it over and everything.
Yeah.
Because even then, you see Waller, and Waller has like a team of people she's working with. One is Steve Agee, who also does the body work for King Shark,
King Shark,
for
that's right.
Nawawe. And I've known him from comedy and like podcasts and stuff before.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure we are recording.
Yeah, we are.
I was like, but they all get wiped, and it is part of the plot. They're meant to be the distraction team for our actual team.
Yeah, but they don't know. It's not intended
Nobody
to be a
knows.
distraction. It's intended to be like a 2-pronged assault.
Right.
And then one of them are just wiped
completely
out.
wiped out. But
Also,
Waller,
we get rid of Captain Boomerang before we can do the ultimate subversive joke of he throws a boomerang and a guy like picks up his gun and you think it's gonna come back and hit the guy and it goes clank 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 in the background. It like drops. I would have loved that.
that would have, but it's like Boomer's been doing this for a bit. Like, he knows, it was cool to see that power R-rated, and he's just cut some guy's scalp off.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I also would have liked them like double crossing each other.
Yeah, again, like you said,
It would have been great to
that
see
would
one
have
of them
been
grab one of the other one as a human shield as they're like killing other people.
'Cause
like,
that would
they would
show-
definitely do that.
Yeah, because that would show like the only competent ones are the ones who've been around the railroad. Everybody else betrays each other because they're all a bunch of shitheels, and they get themselves
It would
killed.
have been so great if like Boomerang grabs Pete Davidson, and just he gets shot into lasagna.
He's just holding him.
He's holding him like throwing, and he throws like a
And it comes back
boomerang
around,
grenade.
cuts his head off, and he grabs it and just like, oh, I knew you were useful. Or
just something.
And of course, the first joke is Weasel falls in and drowns immediately.
Yeah,
it's
it's
like, well, that didn't work out.
I would just leave his body there. I'm not gonna get him out of there.
Michael Rooker just pulls him out like the Weasel's dead.
Anyway,
this is going to shit.
so I just feel like we squander a lot of great opportunity.
Well, it's also because the reverse happens, where the characters we are with, pretty much most of them make it to the end of the movie.
Yeah,
Spoilers.
which I kind of predicted.
Yeah.
That as well.
Yeah.
But let's move past that and like move a little forward now because let's get to some.
Because we also get a flashback very quickly after that, where we're introduced to pretty much our main focal character, which is Bloodsport.
Yeah.
And he's completely nonchalant, doesn't give a shit about anything. He's
In fact,
Idris
he
Elba,
does
doing great.
In fact, I leaned into you and said like he does the one thing I wanted to. It's like fuck Amanda Waller.
Yeah.
I'll fucking kill this bitch.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't
he
care.
immediately
Like-
grabs a pen and puts it right up to her jugular and be like, "You are fucking with my daughter." Like,
Yeah, which is funny because like you get that subversive scene where him and his daughter, who's an actress, I can't recall her name. It's a really cool name, and I can't call her name, but she plays the daughter.
Yeah.
They had this spitting match with each other, and they're just like,
she stole an Apple Watch, and he just never lets it go.
Right? It's why would you do that? You're gonna go to prison.
You can watch TV on your watch. Why would you want to watch TV on your watch? I don't know, because people like it. And he's like, so let me get this straight. Like, you're more mad that I got caught than that I stole something. I'm mad that you got caught stealing something as stupid as an Apple Watch. Like,
it's a watch with a TV on it. But Amanda Waller, being a psychopath or just an out-and-out sociopath, is just like, man, I will use it to whatever advantages. Viola Davis, phenomenal.
She's great.
She's so good in this.
I am glad that they put that in there where he, I like that for all of her cool confidence, she is just a lady in a suit.
Yeah.
And eventually, like, one guy is going to, like, just rip her larynx out.
Yeah. She fucks around with too much of the wrong superpowered people.
And I like that everyone else is around her.
She has pure confidence in her power because she's gotten to have it for so long.
I love that the people around her is like, really? You'd send, like, a grown girl to, like, Belle Rev?
Yeah, to Belle Reeve. That's one thing also is, like, they mentioned, like, Belle Reeve has the highest mortality rate.
Yeah, it does.
That flashback should have shown more prison violence. Like, it should have been like Ricky O. Like some regular guy bumps into like some other supervillain and just like cuts his head off. Like, yeah, it's a bad place if you're not a supervillain.
Well, then it's going to get to the point of like, what kind of rape is going on in that prison? And it opens up a can of worms that James Gunn is like, I don't know if I want to do all that.
Yeah, because there's already a reference to that.
Because like that would have happened
movie.
as soon as Pete Davidson like fucks with Blackguard while he's cleaning the floor, and I would like he would have killed him immediately.
Yeah,
or something.
Which that's a nice little thing where it's just like, that guy's a fucker and he's gonna die.
Yeah.
But
and we already know he's gonna die because he's already died.
Because he's the first one to go essentially. So
then we meet Peacemaker. He begrudgingly agrees, and we meet Peacemaker,
who's all in on it.
He's just like at the front door, like ready. Like, to go.
I'm ready for my job. Peacemaker's John Cena doing his most like Cena-y. Like
my favorite.
He looks like a GI Joe doll.
Yeah, and then. They're like, oh, he's like a combat and weapon specialist. Like, did you hear what you said? He does the same thing that I do.
Yeah, they said like, oh, he's good at this. He's like, that's exactly what I do.
Then they bring in Harley. Well, Harley's not there, is she?
Harley was in the first team.
Okay, she's already she's
already in the team. They bring in
Polka Dot Man.
A Polka Dot Man who's
they wake up Ratcatcher.
Ratcatcher, who Daniela Melchior, who is kind of one of the best characters in this.
She's so
thing.
sweet.
She's
everything you'd hope a person would be in that scenario. She's the El Diablo of this team. I still want El Diablo back, and you're not going to make me forget him. But
she's the heart. The combination of Bloodsport, Ratcatcher 2. Which why can't we get Ratcatcher 1? And Polka Dot Man make this movie. And King Shark and Nawe. Yeah, they are the heart of this movie.
Our biggest criticism was like, are they just going to make him an idiot? They kind of
make him just an idiot. Yeah. And they just make Sylvester Stallone like, no, but he's charming still.
Yeah,
and he also is brutal and like gets the job done.
Yeah, that's another thing where I think they could be mean spirited is like he eats plenty of people that like he eats just like a guard just standing there with his phone.
Yeah,
like, woof. That's a horrible way to go.
That's a horrible way to go. From this, there's a great part where Ratcatcher 2 is very sleepy girl and she keeps falling asleep and he's about to just eat her and until she shows her the secret because she also got a little rat named Sebastian that runs around.
And Bloodsport really lets him have it when he catches him.
Yeah, he blasts him like, but Nanawe is pretty much invincible. Like he just can't be hurt
that we know of.
And David Dastmalchian is Polka Dot Man, who kind of has a Norman Bates thing going on. He's definitely like, is this guy a serial killer? Like his thing is polka dots, but the running joke is that well, it's not a running joke. You find out his backstory is that his mother wanted to make a family of mutants, of superheroes, and in the process succeeded very slightly and got everyone else killed. So he's traumatized as all get out, and he sees his mother everywhere.
Yeah, I don't know if he's a super if he's like a serial killer.
Right.
I think it's probably
more
like he maybe had a
accidental.
couple of instances of violence, or like, and he has superpowers. We got to put him in here.
Yeah, and those polka dots can just melt people.
I'll
They're
skip
pure concussive energy.
Yeah, I'll say this now. I don't like the way they just play off his death as a joke. It's one of those Marvel jokes of in Captain America Winter Soldier, Black Widow's running out of a building as it falls down, essentially, and she jumps out onto a helicopter onto another building, and she lands, and she's like, let's not do that again. When he goes, I'm a superhero,
I'm a
and he's
motherfucking
crushed immediately,
Yeah.
I saw it coming from a mile away, and it wasn't funny.
Yeah.
Keep him around as well.
Yeah, but it's okay if you kill him off, but it has to be an emotional moment because I've grown with these characters. Because one of the things I saw was when you get used to these characters, because this is something that Gunn does so well in directing them, is they're all very likable. And they're all very...
Too likable.
Yeah, to the point where you're worried, like, I don't want to see Ratcatcher get killed. And they don't. But the threat of anyone could die is kind of a tension setter.
I wish they kind of. I guess they. Well, I'll come back to it later.
Yeah, because we're not even that far into the movie.
But yeah, like there are characters that we don't like. Like I don't think we like John Cena's character. He's pretty awful.
I don't like Peacemaker. I like the character because of
John
the
Cena
character.
commits to it in a great way. But
and
like,
there are
he's
some
pretty rough.
interesting things that he does with this acting that he does later when he's like, I will do anything I need to do for what I want.
Yeah.
Because there's a moment when it comes later when he's got guns pointed at certain people, and you can see he doesn't want to do it. He's not a gleeful psychopath. He has the delusion that, like, I make the hard decisions for the greater good.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting take on that character, because you could have him being a grinning psychopath.
I think
you could have him being like
I think they should have leaned into that a little bit more. Just like a smidge more of, isn't he though? Because there's a great moment where I think I'm going to skip forward to writing the screenplay a second. There's a great moment where him and Idris Elba, who have a great back and forth the whole movie, just giving them each other bunches of shit. And there's a part where he was like, what, do you want me to just be like you, where I just kill people for money? He just kind of, Idris Elba shrugs off and goes, oh, here we go. He should have said, and they should have written this line, I 100% believe it, like, no. Like, you just kill people for free. Like, that's what you do. That's why you're here, because you love to kill people. You just wanted to find a reason that rationalizes it to yourself.
Right.
Like, that's what I wanted.
I
get a little bit
like
of that, but I just feel like they missed a beat there.
I think by portraying him a little more emotional, you're presenting something a little more realistic. Again, tonally, it's a mess.
He's only emotional towards Flag because he sees Flag as an equal.
Right.
But the rest of them he sees as criminals who've earned their place. Or
right. But when he's going to try to execute Ratcatcher, but he doesn't look like he wants to do it. Like, he's just like, I have to do it.
Yeah.
Because my mission for America, it's a delusion. It's a tragic delusion for this character, because he's allowed himself to turn into a monster for a nation that's going to use him, because there's a lot of politics in this movie.
Yeah, I think we called him like alt-right G.I. Joe or something, which I think is probably...
Well, I would even say that's there, but he's not as sadistic as that alt-right perspective.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah,
because he's not throwing around racial slurs, but he's a hyper patriot to the point of delusion, but he's not a psychopath. He is a psychopath, but anyway, Harley Quinn, and so the only survivors of the beach landing are Harley Quinn and Rick Flag, and they get taken.
She gives him the javelin. She's like, he falls asleep. Take my javelin and he just he goes.
For who? For what? They'll be mysterious.
Yeah, that was a great joke.
And so she keeps the javelin with her, like, it was given to me for a God-given purpose.
It was a really durable javelin. Yeah. It's pretty powerful.
Well, that's why he's the javelin. He's not going to get a cheap javelin.
Yeah.
They all get wiped, and they get taken prisoner by...
And then Flag flees into the woods.
We should make a note that they are sent here to essentially... In the very political, a lot of this has to do with, I just listened to a podcast about the history of Haiti, and a lot of it has to do with America,
imperialism, and coup d'etats,
putting
and
money,
puppet governments that are really brutal, and then the people rise up and destroy the puppet government and replace it with a worse government, but one that they've chosen.
This is something I wish they would have changed a little bit, and we'll get to that at the end of all this. Is essentially they're like, this used to be run by this moneyed family, and then there was a junta, a coup. They hanged them all, including the children.
Yeah, that was brutal.
Yeah. And I was like, I knew that joke was coming. It wasn't a joke, but it was like, we got to show
Oh
how
no, that's
brutal
really
it is.
happened plenty of times.
Yeah,
I promise.
That was like, oh yeah, they're gonna Romanov everybody.
Look at the history of Guatemala. It's just a long list of El Presidente General, whatever. They're all generals with medals that they didn't earn.
Right.
Like they're all that.
Yep, that's a Pinochet thing. Yeah. And it's always backed up by some fascistic force because this time it's this.
But
new...
they were anti-American because America fucking fucked over Guatemala like in the 50s, and you would get like the next 50, 60 years of their politics is defined by anti-Western sentiment.
American imperialism propped up the families in Haiti that just robbed the country clean because they were anti-communist.
Yeah, throw a stick at any country in Central or South America, and you'll find some of that there.
The politics are pretty on point for this.
Yeah, I'm glad that he doesn't shy away from that.
But Juan Diego Bato plays Luna, who is the new dictator. He's the handsome young dictator, but he's also got the two military guys who are kind of indisposable. Yeah. But you got one military general and then his like main military general. Yeah. And they represent this kind of like Latin America, Central America despot that are going to, so their goal is to get in and mostly get to like what they're doing is not important. They're target to get in the way of Operation Starfish, which is in the center of the city in this fictional nation.
Well, it's not fixed. Corto Maltese, I think, is a real place, but
I thought it's fake.
It could be.
I think Corto Maltese is just like is not real.
Okay,
I think yeah.
Sounds familiar enough. But yeah,
Operation. Of course, it does.
Operation Start. It's like Croc is a country that's mentioned here. Croc is it's a Middle Eastern country in the DC universe. That's like
it comes up in Wonder Woman 84,
and it's often at war with like other. There's North. I think at some point there's North Croc and South Croc, like North Sudan and South Sudan.
Right.
Like they all feel like vaguely familiar, just like
much like
Marvel and Sokovia or whatever.
Right. Well, much like Gotham and Century City and all these other places are kind of similar enough to American cities.
Yeah. Flag flees into the woods.
Right.
And he gets immediately captured by who we think at the time are enemies, but are actually agents of someone called Sol Soria, who are like leading. They're the rebel freedom fighters.
They're the resistance.
We're going to do another coup.
Right. They're the hopefully progressive resistance that I think it's subtly that Sol Soria is one of the daughters. They don't know. I think
they don't
because they say like we're the children of that family, but I think it's more representational.
Yeah.
She might as well be, but yeah, I think there could have been something there, like the lost Romanov sort of thing, like Anastasia, but that's not the case. They're just like, we are trying to undo Luna's government, and again, we got a lot going on, but it's all what is said in the other great piece about South American politics.
Is it Viola Davis?
No, I'm
saying like we don't condone the actions of the former family, but they were at least pro-American in their sentiment. So now we have to like it was like a lot of that. Like George W. Bush has really changed skin complexion in this movie. Like I just felt a lot of that.
Oh wait, I mean this is all Reagan. This is all very Reagan too. Like what's going on? We can take over Grenada. Yeah. Norman Schwarzkopf and all that. So that's happening. They take Harley Quinn back, and now we're with Team B. We're with everybody else.
We get a big. The first thing we get is like a big action sequence.
Yeah, a big brutal kill 'em all. Very very commando
in the enemy's camp.
Right, they're going to get Flag because they found out Flag's still alive. They're still on record.
Viola Davis tells them they have to go. Get him.
Mission objective has changed. You got to go get Flag.
Yeah, and it is a great who can kill most creatively between Idris Elba and John Cena. And I'm going to go ahead and say it right now. Idris Elba is definitely more creative.
Yeah.
John Cena is just a bull in a china shop.
Yeah. There is that great thing where the guy's sleeping. He just takes a knife and
it's an axe, actually.
Yeah, because he eventually just like gives up the gun and gets a hatchet and is just like waylaying people while
Idris Elba kills a guy with a garrote wire. I was like, way to go old school.
Yeah, I was like, oh, garrote wire. Yeah. I was surprised most of Bloodsport's until later in the movie, most of his ability is pretty much he has a crossbow.
Yeah, he has these string guns on the inside of his wrist.
Yeah, they're just like
we should talk about his tech first for a second, because his tech are these compartmentalized guns that you can add in any number of ways.
They almost get so ridiculous. I
loved them though.
Hysterical.
I thought it was cool.
Talk about G.I. Joe. Like, it just like add on.
When he's fighting Starro, the first all I could think of was like, one, that gun is dope, and secondly, like, why aren't you shooting at his giant eye?
Right.
Like, I've played enough video games to know.
There's a big fuck you eye right there to get at.
That's what you're supposed to shoot. Anyway. But there's a great line. We both laughed uproariously. He kills the guy with some sort of like, hold on. And he goes like miniaturized exploding bullets. And the guy explodes or whatever. And he goes, no one likes to show off. He goes, yeah, unless what they're showing off is dope as fuck.
Yeah, is that Cena saying that? Unless they're showing off is dope as fuck.
And then he turns off. And then he just turns around and is like, yeah, that is true. And he's like really upset.
I hate to admit it. They find that they're in the rebel bank. And that's where we're all just like, oh no, they just killed all the rebels.
Dave Dastmalchian only kills like 2 people.
Yep.
And it's the first time we see him do anything.
Yeah, he melts those guys. That's
and
much
they're
later.
Like, what?
Because all the while you're seeing Polka Dot Man like getting these big glowing tumors. Yeah,
he gets real sick and he has to vomit out all the polka dots twice a day.
Yeah,
I wish that came back in a more meaningful way. Just kind of like his.
I think it was mostly just to be like, this is what this guy goes through to have these powers. No wonder he's so mentally unwell.
Oh, King Shark eats a man.
Yep.
Oh, we skipped the part he almost eats. I
already said that.
But we didn't talk about how she works around it, which is the big gushy heart showing itself. Is she goes like, would you eat your friend Nanawe or whatever? And he goes,
I don't have any friends.
I don't have friends. And he goes, well, would you like some? And then she goes, yeah. And he goes, then I'm your friend.
Right.
And she shakes his hand, and all I could do was like, I felt my lump in my throat. I was like, that's the sweetest thing.
Well, it is also that this actress is just playing her absolutely the most adorable character.
She's sweet. She grounds the whole thing.
Yep.
It's really great.
And her ability is, of course, she has a tool to control rats.
She's like Ant-Man.
Yeah.
But with rats.
Well, she doesn't
shrink down.
She's very much a human.
She can control the rats.
Right. Which is just a nice little wand. She also has got like a cool like
I was
gas
expecting
mask.
a part where like the rats eat someone to flesh and bone. It never happens.
I think her deal is she's nonviolent. Like, I can't imagine she's actually killed anybody.
I'm just saying it would be really dope.
It would have been cool. Yeah, but I don't think she's actually ever killed anybody.
Yeah, but that's her stuff.
Yeah, and we find out more about her backstory later. We'll get to that. We might as well get to it now.
Her father was Ratcatcher 1.
Yep, and it was played by Taika Waititi.
Yeah, for like half a second.
It's mostly flashbacks, but he looks great. He looks like a rat man. And he was a heroin addict.
Yeah.
And they lived in Portugal and I guess the streets of Lisbon. And
that doesn't make sense because drugs are legal in Portugal.
Well, it doesn't mean it can't kill him.
Well, but he was poor though.
Oh yeah, he's still poor. Well, you know,
it doesn't make probably. I don't know if it was Portugal, maybe like Bolivia or whatever. But
right.
Yeah.
The actress is Portuguese, I think.
Yeah.
And I think she did mention like Portugal or something. Maybe I got it wrong. Maybe I got it wrong.
But,
by the way, Taika Waititi's there. He also is Starro somehow. I think he's the voice of Starro or something.
I didn't notice. The voices are always different.
Yeah.
So
he's Starro also, but mostly he's Ratcatcher 1.
Yeah.
And when she's a little girl, he trains her about the rats, and there's this great thing about like he says he essentially does the blessed are the meek, whereas like, you know, the great thing about rats is
they're the lowliest of creatures or whatever. And if they can be happy, maybe we can too, or something like that.
Something like that. And so it's just like they were the closest thing to a family to me, and then he died from an overdose and left her alone, and you know, she had to become who she was. And somehow, you know, through the strings of fate, this European villain ends up in Bellerive, probably because she has the power to control rats. She ain't just normal villain.
Well, no, they do it because her rats would bring her stuff from the street, and that's technically robbery.
Right.
So they throw her into Bellerive. First of all, where's the discretion from the judge? She's a first-time offender.
Right.
You don't throw her into a prison.
I think it's at that point those judges are just like, you got a superpower? Fuck it, Bellerive, whatever. I don't care if you just control. You control rats? That's more than every other crackhead I see around here.
This is what happens when like your world is filled with bad guys like Zod and like Ocean Master, and like these like genuinely like terrifying,
world devastating villains, and then
if anyone had a superpower, I might be like, get them all.
God knows what Blackguard did then to get in prison. Like it's like if it was enough to get to Bellerive, it was enough.
Yeah. She probably shouldn't be there, though.
No, she probably shouldn't be there. In fact, they probably could have done something about the legal system or whatever in the supervillain world, but I think that's a different movie.
Yeah. So they rescue Flag, and then Sol Soria has to look at the corpses of her dead comrades.
Like, oh no, we snuck in. Everything's fine.
And then they have to do another separate thing where they have to go rescue Harley, where we get like a really cool. We get a really cool Harley action sequence after this thing that I think is really cool. But you said Harley might be one of your bigger critiques. Do you want to talk about that?
So I might as well get to it since we're running around in this. I can see a version of this movie where Harley Quinn's not in it. I almost feel like this movie could have been something very different if she didn't have to be in it. That's not a detriment to Margot Robbie. She's great. She's having a lot of fun in this movie. She has a few little good moments, particularly with this whole thing with Luna, because Luna brings her in and dolls her up and everything, and he's simping on her and everything because it's Margot Robbie. And also, he's like, "I've heard so much about you," and they have
the people want him to marry her due
Yes.
to anti-Western sentiment.
Yeah, it's like
I don't know if I buy that part.
Yeah, it's like we want you to. It's also like I'm very traditional. I need a bride, so I look good on the world stage. I'm not just some bachelor dictator who's taken over this. He's like, I couldn't think anyone better than you. And they have this montage of romance set to the Fratellis, and eventually she starts opening up about Operation Starfish and talks about it. I think he even brings up Operation Paperclip, where the U.S. was taking Nazi scientists.
Yep.
And the Thinker has something to do with this. He's not a Nazi scientist because he's too young.
He's a Brit bunker.
Yeah. And he mentioned something about like, I'll do whatever I need to, and women, and she just shoots him and just like,
well, he says, I'm gonna use they were very discerning when they would use Operation Starfish, but me, anyone who criticizes me, anyone who women, children, if they speak out against the regime, bam, and then she just shoots him in the neck immediately.
And it shoots him in the heart.
Oh yeah, I thought it was
you're thinking about later.
Okay,
well, another character gets shot in the throat. She shoots him in the heart, and it's just kind of like, all right, I know my red flags.
I promised myself that if another man had red flags, that I would not ignore them.
If it's someone who's had a track record as hellish as mine, this is for me. She is still the Harley Quinn that has come out of Birds of Prey, and
yes, but I argue the Harley Quinn at the end of Birds of Prey isn't really that different from the Harley at the beginning of Birds of Prey.
Very true, so. But she has learned something. She's like, You remind me too much of He Who Shall Not Be Named in terms of your brutality. So she kills him, and then the Generalissimo comes in, and like there's a whole torture sequence with her and all that.
I like how she gets out of the torture thing, because I expected something like a little more stealthy, but what she does is like the guy just isn't paying attention, and she just gives herself a little pull up very quietly and just wraps her legs around his neck and lifts him off the floor till he suffocates.
Yeah, she turns herself into a noose and just like gets, and then I thought it was cool. Out. Yeah, it's very Quinn. Like it works for that character. Again, a lot of that is very distracting. Because, again, it's so much focused in on this power struggle about Luna and everything, because he gets taken out pretty quick. He's not an important character.
Yeah.
And these Generalissimos just kind of are...
It is much ado about nothing. It doesn't really impact the plot, where if you took it out of the movie stays kind of the same.
Pretty much.
But you can still have Harley and do something more interesting than she gets captured. We do a person is captured, we got to get them twice.
Right.
And both of them are literally not that necessary.
Right.
So I do kind of feel like that's wasted screen time.
I feel like she's in this movie because Margot Robbie's performance as Harley Quinn has become so iconic to the DCU, you can't have it without her.
Yeah. And I feel like
it's almost like begrudgingly we have to have her in this movie because it's a Suicide Squad movie, and we're not going to kill her. Yeah. Like, I don't think James Gunn was going to let them kill her.
I think the most big boss fucking Chad move you could do as a director is to kill Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. And I kick Harley a little bit because I think we're just our fan culture is upset. You know why I like...
Which is funny because I just started watching the HBO cartoon series.
I hear it's great.
It's so good.
But
it's so good. It's very much my kind of show.
Right on.
It's very
a lot of people are saying they want to cast... they want Kristen Stewart to be Poison Ivy and have her be opposite Robert Pattinson, which I could definitely see depending on what kind of world that is. But
Twilight.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Oh, I thought you were making that
No,
connection.
they were being serious, like that she would be a great.
She would
Poison
be a great
Ivy.
Poison Ivy.
But here's my thing about Harley Quinn. I've read enough Harley Quinn, and the people who are fans of Harley Quinn are like crazy, like, I'm not trying to be mean, but like crazy white trash girls on Facebook who are like, I'm just like Harley, and my Matt is just like Joker, and blah, blah, blah.
Or it's
and like,
or to be fair, it's the continuation of all of us straight male nerds simping over Harley Quinn because
And then the women have-
she's
the
the
women have
epitome
evolved
of
to react
she's
to
the
that.
epitome of the I'm not like the other girls.
Yeah.
And
But
again,
the people that like Harley Quinn, they don't like superhero movies. It's like when you find a fan who only likes Deadpool, but he doesn't like superheroes.
Right.
Like, you're the worst kind of Deadpool fan. And I'm like,
again,
Deadpool is a celebration of superheroes.
it's the cop with the Punisher badge. And they don't understand the Punisher.
Unironically,
right.
yeah.
The character has
he's a
become
serial killer, right?
right, and also like
you'd have to hunt him
doesn't
down.
like cops,
Yeah.
like, and also it's I don't think they would mind that he's a serial killer. I think it's just like he has a code of honor. You fucking don't.
Well, the Punisher doesn't learn. Is his thing.
It's a tragedy about Frank Castle, but like, yeah, a character becomes so iconic for their own good.
And I think the people who've written Harley Quinn, and this might come across as slightly sexist, but hear me out. Harley Quinn is not a strong, independent woman. She is a codependent. One of my favorite things about Harley Quinn is the Injustice series, where after Superman kills the Joker, she has this crisis of identity, and in order to like save herself, she latches on to Green Arrow and Black Canary as their friend, and she becomes like she needs to belong to something. So Harley by herself doesn't ever work for me. It feels
That is a big point of the show.
Yeah.
Of the Harley Quinn cartoon. That's literally pretty much what the show is about.
I heard it's great.
I love it. I love it so far. In fact, watching it and the way she's portrayed in there and performed by Katie Kuko, I can't pronounce her last name. Kuoku, the girl from Big Bang Theory. It made me be like, I really didn't need Harley in this movie. Because but I will say, even though she gets all these moments, I completely forget about her because the main cast is still very strong.
Yeah.
But they almost exist completely without her
Independently.
in the movie.
Yeah. I think that Harley being a mainstay on the Suicide Squad is actually the best place for her.
Yeah.
Because without that, I would and I'm not trying to be mean if you're a person out there that likes Harley Quinn and you like those comic books. That's fine.
Hey,
but like
I loved Birds of Prey. It was a good movie for her.
I liked it too.
And
I said it was fine.
And I love Margot Robbie's performance though. She's clearly having a good time.
Yeah. I just feel like when I've never picked up a solo Harley movie or comic and been like, man, I can't put it down. Because I just feel like there's a big wave of pointlessness that rolls over me. It's like she's a character that works best when she is bouncing off a straight man, like a Batman or like any of these other characters.
I love all the bits when you have her playing off Batman.
Yeah.
That's really fun. That's really charming.
Her Batman's in the show, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's Diedrich Bader too, from bringing himself back from the Batman.
Aside from
Batman Brave and the Bold.
Yeah. Aside from the occasional like jokes about like, oh, Milton or whatever, she's almost not really in the movie very
That's what I'm
much. Like,
saying. She's barely in the movie.
If you close your eyes, you wouldn't really notice.
Yeah.
And I don't know if my criticism is she shouldn't have been in the movie, or if my criticism is you should have done something more interesting with her in the movie.
If you have to have her do something very
But what else do we want?
different.
I mean,
well, I have an idea. I have an idea,
Yeah.
and we'll talk about it at the end. I have an idea.
Because Harley Quinn is there to do zany crap, so I don't know what else it would be. In a
Which
way.
that fits well with Gunn, and I mean that her battle sequence is great, where she's dual wielding machine guns and like her delusion takes over, so she's seeing flowers.
Yeah,
that's really cool. But it's like this isn't her movie. It's begrudgingly her movie because the studio needed her. I almost think that's gotta be the case.
studio knows, like, if you put Harley Quinn in it,
it'll
get
put
the
butts in the seat.
We'll get the hot topic girls in the studio, or
we'll
whatever.
get everybody in because everybody wants to see that character. They want to see Margot Robbie play it.
I guess it just feels slightly pandering now.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Well, it felt like a studio no, because I feel like there's a version of this where James Gunn did not have her in it, but Rick Flag can be in it. If Rick Flag was the primary character, if it was just Joel Kinnaman getting to play that character, then that makes more sense. Like, he's the Suicide Squad guy.
Rick Flag gets the best hand-to-hand fight scene in this movie.
Yeah, and it's brutal.
Yeah,
but So she breaks out. They go to try to rescue her. There's a really great sequence. It's after or beforehand. So they have to go find the Thinker. They have to go find Peter Capaldi, who is a complicit scientist who is literally pretty much no threat because he's being bullied around by the Generalissimos.
I think you and I both thought that he was going to have some powers associated.
He's
with
going to be like some psychic
diodes on his head.
Yeah.
No, he's
just really smart. He's mostly just an asshole. Yeah. He's just a representation of like, and he's doing the kind of Peter Capaldi I like, which is kind of like before he was the Doctor, where he's just like, I can do fucking whatever I want, and I'm like, or that's a bad Peter Capaldi, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I like that that's what they did with him, where he's just like he's a scumbag. He's a scumbag super scientist, and he's the one that gives Starro the Conqueror. Get some good,
Starro is like, do we want to move to all right, let's keep going about the Tinker.
One of my other favorite scenes is when they go undercover, they have to meet up with the Thinker at a bar, at a club.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And then this is where you get something really sweet, which is you get to see these characters' camaraderie really come into play, because they all kind of like, it's a great scene like in a war movie or something. Like everyone's just like, hey, let's get some drinks.
I agree it's a great scene, but it cuts against my earlier point of I wish some of these characters hated each other.
Yeah.
They are a little chummy.
Yeah.
And I just
Everyone's getting a little too chummy around
here. I just don't like it. I can't explain why. I just wish they were more like, I wish it was an opportunity to like slip someone poison to someone's drink or some shit. I don't know.
A fight breaks out at the bar and
like David Desmalchian starts has a cool dance. Like it's cool when like, a character is cutting loose and he has a little dance. But when they're all like drinking at the table, I'm a little bit like, one of y'all should be a piece of shit. Like, because I think
well, and also like it should be noted, Bloodsport and Flag have backgrounds, like they fought together before. I think
so. Yeah,
they're like old war buddies or conflict buddies of some variety, so they know each other, and so they're like sitting there drinking and trading stories and all that. It's cute. It's a cute scene, but you're right, it comes to no consequence other than to endear us more to the characters.
It's harmless because we kind of do the same thing in the first one, where they have it's not as chummy because El Diablo brings it down and says, "Hey, here's the story of how I accidentally killed my wife and kids."
Right.
Like,
and here's the fire selves.
But I'm not against character building moments or whatever. I just think for a story as neat, because the Suicide Squad is not just it's not a typical team movie. It's a very specific kind of team movie, and you gotta like be careful, otherwise I just stop believing it. This movie does a good enough job where by the end of it, I wasn't like, oh, this is ridiculous. This isn't the Suicide Squad I know.
Right.
I would argue that if I say that about this movie, I say it about the other one too, because they're both not mean enough. Is the first thing I would say about both of them.
Right.
But the first one has its exceptions, as does this one. In fact, the Rick Flag John Cena fight might be the best example of a meanness that I need, which is why I kind of said I can see why some people would say the movie seems mean-spirited, as I can kind of see some of that energy when James Gunn's trying to flex it in other ways without making like Bloodsport kill Ratcatcher or something.
Right, or something really something really cruel, and like you don't really get that, like, because I think
should be cruel is my point. But then we kill half the ones that we could have made cruel,
right?
To kill off later.
James Gunn talks about like being inspired by like war movies, like Where Eagles Dare, Guns of the Navarone, The Dirty Dozen.
Yeah,
and there's a character in The Dirty Dozen that's oh god, I can't remember the actor's name. Terry Savalas plays Maggot. And he is a xenophobic, racist, misogynist psychopath with a religious conviction, and he is a danger to the team. But he has to be on the team.
Yeah,
and he ends up fucking things up because he's a religious maniac, and he's like, I hate women, I hate fucking whores, and he's a danger to the team from the beginning. I feel like if like Peacemaker had little moments like that where it's like, there's an edge to him. Like one of these guys could snap at any second.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been. I would have liked that.
But but that's not in this movie. Everything is kind of disconnected.
Even if
it's such a cartoon.
Even if it would have just been like, and maybe it's, but his name is Peacemaker, and his outfit is ridiculous. Like, if anything, he is a good character to have weird, antiquated ideas. If he should have been around and be like, ugh.
Yeah,
like maybe they're like he walks by like a like a free health clinic. He's like, ugh, communists,
Yeah.
whatever. Like just something
I mean, there's a way
to
do
cloud
that.
his own judgment.
Yeah, there's a way to do that that's a little more delicate and a little more impactful. But you're right. Like
He's a dumb, stupid, overt character.
He's a big old meatbag jock and is a hyper America guy. But his hyper America really doesn't play into it much. He's just more loyal to the job.
Well, like in that, like there's a particular.
to
I
the-
100% agree with you.
Yeah.
There's a way he says it with to flag, which is like it'll cause an international incident. Like he's too politically calculating and not like radically nationalist enough.
Right.
And I think, and I say this, like I'm kind of talking about it a lot. I think he's great in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
He's very charismatic. He's a lot of fun. He gets some great jokes, even little fun jokes with like Peacemaker. And he's like, no, it looks nothing like me or whatever. Like I like that he's a good straight man a lot of the time,
Mm-hmm.
but like, I feel like he needs some. His politics is too like he's served on the Joint Chief of Staffs as opposed to a guy who's on Reddit more.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like a little bit of that could have helped him be even better.
Or have that be when it comes to the curse your inevitable betrayal, where he's like the plant, like he's the ace in the hole because Waller always has an ace in the hole.
There should be more plants too.
Yeah.
Everyone should have like a little side mission where like Waller didn't tell
that makes
everyone
sense.
else.
Waller is the chess master. She has planted things in everybody else's ear, like you got to do this, you got to do this, and it all comes to a head.
Here's the thing I would have liked too. Waller should we get some little unresolved thread. I know I'm jumping around too much. I want to get back to Starro and the finale of it all because that's the last.
Because that's what we're coming up to.
Yeah. When he fights Flag, one, it's the best fight in the movie. And when he stabbed him in the heart, and we got that close up of his heart,
Yeah, to
spurting
show
blood,
that
I was like,
he's-
oh god.
Yeah, it's also this is a way to show like no, Rick Flag dies here.
Yeah,
he ain't
and,
coming back.
And the last thing he says is like Peacemaker, like what a joke. And I was like, great. I really like Joel Kinnaman in this movie.
Yeah.
And like, but Rick Flag is the one person that is kind of a mainstay on the Suicide Squad. So one, kudos for the subversion.
Mm-hmm.
Two, Waller should have been like pissed at him. Because like that's your
guy.
He's not a guy with a thing in his neck.
No,
he's a soldier.
He's the Wrangler. He's Duke. Like
So
he's the one.
Next
leading.
time we get that Peacemaker show, if she's in it, I want a big old talk about that.
Right.
I want her to be like livid.
Yeah,
that
I
he's
brought
gone.
you back because we'll get to why he's back. Because they make it into the city. They catch the Thinker. And they're like, "You're going to take us in. They're going to take us in."
Also, he might be like a sexual, like have a sexual deviancy or whatever.
He's a pervert because Starro experiences everything that everything connected to Starro experiences, and Starro says like he defiled me, and and he kind of get.
Oh,
Yeah,
like he had sex with someone who
or
had.
he raped somebody, and because he gives this like sheepish like, and
Did
it's
I miss-
played as a joke, but
Did
it
I
is.
miss that joke? I must have missed that part.
I don't think it was so much of a.
Not a joke, but like, did I
it plays
miss
as a
that
joke, but it
scene?
is like this is a monster. I'm a monster. He's a monster, and because he's a heartless scientist of just like I'll do whatever I want, and so they break in. They set up this whole plan to like while we break in. Solsora and the other team will invade the palace and take over the government because all the government's going to come after us. And it's a nice little raid. Like it's a nice little like guns a-blazing raid done in the rain.
You probably could have omitted that.
Yeah, it could have been a little smoother, but because the pressure that the army's there is not pressure because they don't breach the wall, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
They just get in and start.
Also, the place where Starro is called Jotunheim.
Jotunheim.
From Marvel. It's from the realm of the Frost Giants.
Oh
The Thor
yeah.
movies.
Well, I guess it's the whole thing is like, well, they house Nazis,
Yeah.
so of course it's a Nazi thing. Could have done like, if you're gonna do that, you might as well throw some more Nazi imagery in there, I guess.
Yeah. A lot of Nazis escaped to South America.
Oh, a bunch.
Is Corto Maltese in South America?
It's supposed to be in Latin America. And Corto Maltese isn't real.
Okay, fair enough.
In fact, I think
It's right next to Argentina, then.
I think Corto Maltese actually might be a reference to the famous Italian comic Corto Maltese.
Oh, the Maltese Falcon?
No, well, maybe. But Corto Maltese is an Italian-French comic series, very similar to like Diabolique. Like it's like an adult like drama comic about like a captain, like a retired captain or something. Could be getting that wrong, but it's called Corto Maltese. I think it might be a reference to that. I'll look it up after we're done. I could be wrong. But it's kind of just like just Banana Republic. But so they break into Jotunheim, and they find Starro. And Starro is fucking Starro. They also find all like the experimentation. Like once you get connected to it, you die. Like that's something that's different from like the comics.
If that's true, why didn't they let King Shark eat some? He's hungry. Let him eat some of it. He's like, can I eat that one? Like, no. Eat that one? No. Let him just pick one. And he's like, we don't know.
You talking about the people who
Yes.
got Starro'd? I think they're just trying to be respectful, or it's a joke. I don't know. Maybe they didn't think that
The
long.
Suicide Squad are respectful. This is what I'm talking
They're way
about.
too respectful.
They're not
too
mean
nice.
enough.
Everyone's too nice. You're
bit
right.
too nice.
Everyone's a little too nice. Considering like half this town gets killed.
Yeah. It is Starro. The idea of Starro is very scary, but it's also so scary that I'm like, why would anyone choose to let that thing onto your planet?
Right.
That's it's a horrible idea.
Because the reveal is like when they were shown about Starro and everything, it's like, oh, some scientists like astronauts got it. It's the Americans.
Yeah.
And it failed. It's actually
there is that. Yeah.
There's that really great shot where it's like the old footage, and then they all get Starro and they just like float towards the camera like zombies. I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's some of that old horror imagery.
But Starro doesn't look. It doesn't do anything overtly malicious.
No, it's neutral. In fact, of course, they defeat Starro. One of the last things it says.
I mean, you probably should. It looks dangerous and scary, especially that big. But like,
and it's intelligent. It's hyper intelligent, but it is like, I think like they think it can be like the Thing, or something they can weaponize.
I mean,
the Generalissimo and Luna, before they die, says like, we can use this to have leverage against all the other nations that are trying to prop us, that are trying to undo us.
Yeah.
And one of those guys gets his head eaten off by Nawe.
Yeah,
and it's pretty great because he just essentially like he just
rips a guy in two.
He gives a guy in half,
like a grilled cheese sandwich that you're stretching the cheese out.
Yep. And that guy, he uses his skull like a big old drumstick from the county fair. You're just still eating at the bone.
What do you think of the part where he gets like his little buddies in the water? He's like, I have your friends.
It was silly. It was fun.
Yeah, I liked it too.
Because it's like this little thing where these little creatures, God knows where they're from, are like following him around. He has this little whimsical moment when the glass breaks. They're just like, bang! They start like getting onto him and everything. That's where we find out he's like completely invulnerable to bullets or anything.
It seems like it, yeah.
They say, because they like throw away line.
I wish
like,
that he's
connected to like the gods of the ocean. Like Aquaman probably knows the people that Nanawe comes
Probably.
from.
I don't know. I can't remember if he is actually that, or if he's like a genetically altered human that something happened to.
I think in this context, he's something supernatural.
Yeah, probably.
He's like
I wish
he's
that
a god.
I wish that he had a moment at the end where he just goes savage. I know they kind of do that where he kills the dude and eats his head or whatever. Like,
but like,
I wish that he just berserks his way through like 50 people.
Right, like you're seeing body parts flying.
Because like we're told like this is like the gut infested, blood splattery James Gunn at his most James Gunny, and I'm like, I'll give it I'll give it like a 7.8 on the blood.
I could have
stuff.
used more carnage. And
just in bursts.
Yeah.
Like it would have been like they finally like maybe he's been kind of like told to restrain himself all movie, and then like Bloodsport gives him he's like no way, and he goes nom nom.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. No way. Nom nom.
And then
nom,
he just starts, goes berserk. Yeah. And it's just a bloodbath.
He's just spitting bones out and everything. Yeah. Why not? Why not?
I found myself not minding that he's an idiot too much in the movie. Especially, I think the reason is because I like the dynamic between him and Ratcatcher.
Yeah.
I think that kind of like salvages it at the end for me. Do we want to talk about Starro and then let's do our screen rewrite?
Sure.
Because I think I have some good ones here.
They set off a bunch of bombs. There's actually two concurrent stories going on where we find out that
there's a lot of that little like. There's little not Tarantino, little chapters.
Well, actually,
or whatever.
I think I mentioned to you one time, like there's a moments in this that it reminded me of a Tarantino movie.
Yeah, I
like the way it's shot and everything. Like it's maybe I just recently rewatched Inglourious Bastards, and it kind of gives me that vibe every now and then. I'm like, this feels very Tarantino-esque.
I just like those little chapter
Yeah, that was all. Oh wait, yeah,
way
those
of
are
telling
really
you
fun.
the next chapter of the movie
I forgot
or
about
whatever.
that. Yeah, that's really fun. Rick Flag discovers pretty much kind of what everything is going down.
What we
at.
all knew.
Yeah, that this was American interventionism and everything. And he's like, he kind of has like a Rorschach moment where he's like, the people need to see this floppy disk here to make everything simple and simple and comic booky is in this floppy disk. This floppy disk cannot get out of hand. He's selling this to Ratcatcher, and that's
you're really hoping that everything you want to know is on 1 terabyte
is
hard
on
drive.
one nice little terabyte floppy disk.
If this is a giant lab, they have servers full of these things, but it doesn't matter.
And so they're setting bombs up and everything, and so they start going off, and the whole thing, chaos is happening, and that's how Starro gets out, and he takes Thinker and rips him apart.
And I love he begs for his life before it happens.
Yeah, and I'm just like, you were about to get.
I overstepped the line. I'm sorry. It's good stuff.
You're an amazing creature, and then it just splatters him against while no one pays attention.
Yeah,
like,
it's just like he's meat sauce.
Yeah.
For your
it's
spaghetti.
great.
It's
It's
good
a
stuff.
good way to go out. But this is where
We get the big fight. Or whatever.
Peacemaker reveals like that thing can never leave here.
Yeah.
America cannot be connected with Operation Starfish, and he's like, well, fuck you. This isn't
I still
right.
argue that his answers are too political and not nationalist enough, but I like that fight. And I like that, like, I thought John Cena was going to throw him around. Rick Flag takes out like a metal bar and just savages him across the jaw with it. And I was like, yeah.
It's a brutal
He gives
beatdown.
him he gives him the business. It was good.
Yeah, two meat men just slamming against each other until he kills them. And then he goes, Ratcatcher sees it happen, and it's just like, oh fuck. And that great scene where he looks over and she's coming out of the rubble and takes it and runs off like a scurrier rat, and he's about to go and hunt her down and put a bullet in her, and then
we cut to what the other team was doing this whole time, essentially. And Milton dies.
Milton is the
Bus
driver that goes on.
Who I made the point of saying, like, why is the bus driver still with them here?
And then the only person that cares is Polka Dot Man. Like, Milton, he's been with us this whole time. It's like, what?
How do you know that? He's a nice man. We talked. Like,
he was a good guy. I'm gonna mourn him. And then
God bless David. David.
And then Harley thinks that's
that guy.
Harley thinks that's
Bloodsport.
Bloodsport's name, Milton. He's like, bloody Milton. And they have their own little adventure there. Starro breaks out. They're jumping and doing all that.
I actually liked the set piece where the building is tipping over, and
thought
they
that was
have
cool.
to keep finding ways to get like. That's
Bloodsport gets elevated
That's the
down.
kind of impossible shit that like I want a Suicide Squad to go through. That I know soldiers are not there for that.
Right. Or more superpowered.
Yeah, and then like
superheroes.
and then they get through, but Milton doesn't, and he keeps sinking through the thing, and he lands right where John Cena is about to kill this girl, Ratcatcher. And only critique I have, I'll get to this in my rewrite. I have a critique of this, but I'll get to it when we do the rewrite. Let's talk about the battle with Starro. It is ridiculous.
They have the bullets. There's a connection back where he says like smaller bullets. That's how I get things out, smaller bullets. And then they have a gun-to-gun fight.
But John Cena says that, doesn't he?
No, Bloodsport says that.
Says I get stuff more in the center.
Yeah, it's like smaller bullets, and then it shoots through his big old Magnum bullet, busts through and gets him in the throat. And he's like, how? And he's like, smaller bullets.
Not terrible.
I'm fine with it.
I have a critique of that, which I'll get to later.
Starro breaks out.
It is ridiculous that Viola Davis is like, we as America are not concerned with this. What?
Yeah.
He's going to take over the whole planet. You better be concerned with that.
She's just like, some superheroes will get to it eventually. But as far as the people of Culto Maltese, the Culto Maltesians, fuck them. Who cares?
Well,
Mission's over. Who cares? The other Generalissimo gets Starro'd.
Yep.
Bunch of people do. That kind of takes away a lot of the carnage that could be done, is that Starro just turns all these people into zombies.
Well, I was hoping that the zombies would do something, but then they're like the Borg. They just want to spread out over everything. So I was kind of hoping they were going to like rip a dude apart.
Right.
And then I'm like, that they would just zombie
Well, that
him.
would be kind of a fun Dawn of the Dead or Day of the Dead reference, since they're on like an island, like a very tropical island, which is sort of how Day of the Dead is, and they just rip a guy's belly open like Bub does. Like, that would have been kind of neat. And it would be James Gunn getting to have to do that.
Yeah, but it would make sense. They would just put a fish over his head or whatever.
Yeah, it's a collective.
Then they decide to fight him, and
because they were gonna run, but and they go against the directive, and she's about to pop their heads, and the team that she's been with the whole time mutiny on her, knock her ass out.
See, at first, what I thought was going to happen was they were going to do it anyway, and realize that Waller has no power. Without a Suicide Squad, she's not going to kill you all, because then she can't use you the next time, or
Right.
whatever. I thought that kind of would have been cool, but then I would have been like, I still kind of feel like, oh, they're all still too do-goody. They're still too, like, the Suicide Squad aren't people who save the world. That being said, I did kind of like I thought it was a cool action sequence when they fight Starro.
Yeah, and
I would have liked if Polka Dot Man did something more impressive, like his polka dots take a huge chunk out of his leg, kind of thing.
or maybe have opened the eye and allowed them to be able to do that.
Yeah, or something.
Instead of the
That's why
the javelin.
that's why his death just kind of made me like,
Yeah. I see, like you said, you saw it coming, and also you get the idea. It's like this poor guy can't comfortably live in this world. So it's like
he'll get therapy. He could have gotten
good therapy. Oh well, because they do mourn him afterwards. Like, oh fuck, we lost our buddy. But he gets crushed. Everybody else fights. And Harley, spears into Starro's eye and like floats around in it, and it's this very kind of moment. And then that's when she
the rats. Go inside and eat.
It's this very, very, very sweet moment where, she's crying and remembering her father, and all the rats just come out of the city and just take down Starro. And Starro has that last little moment where I think it's the Generalissimo with him says like, that's the thing I miss is the blackness of space, or something like that. He says something similar to that. And that's where you get the idea that like he was plucked from peace in the universe onto our world. And yeah, he's not malevolent. He's a creature.
Yeah.
And I forgot what the line is, but he says something similar to like, I miss space.
Do you think that having Starro in this movie is a mistake?
I think I could see a lot of big DC fans hating this because Starro's such an iconic villain. He's one of the first big Justice League villains.
He is the first Justice League villain. But I don't
also,
know
like,
a lot of Justice League fans who are like, put Starro in the movie.
Yeah,
they're
like,
saying
how
shit
do
like,
you
give us Brainiac or whatever.
how do you do Starro super seriously? Like, how do you do a Snyder Starro?
I would argue this is still pretty serious.
It's pretty serious.
It's kind of scary, the idea of
yeah,
like a
the
bunch of
stakes are there.
drones that are dead.
I saw some people like online who were just like, fucking, you telling me Starro got jobbed by a bunch of rats. And it's like, what else are you going to do with this character, though? Starro is very interesting, but like...
The DCEU Superman would rip Starro in half.
Right.
Like, he would just...
He's not a god. He just has a very...
He's a big monster, essentially.
He's a very intelligent monster, but his intelligence is only related to everything he collects.
Yeah.
We gone long.
No, I was just checking my messages or whatever. But like, I mean, like, or like even someone like, God, like Aquaman's trident would like Aquaman's trident can summon lightning. Like I don't want to see a Justice League versus Starro. I know a bunch of hipsters out there like they should have like Darkseid, so hack, like do Starro.
It's like
no,
there's no story to tell with Starro. It's just
it would work as like an episode of a TV show, but it doesn't work as a full-fledged villain.
So I can see how James Gunn looked at it and said, I need a big villain in this. Starro works. Starro works with the bizarre wackiness of this movie. And so, thus,
I don't disagree with that, but I still think that
Starro's not something I would remove entirely.
Yeah,
but I think there's something else you can have there. But they defeat him, they kill him, and they're able to
little character arc thing. They don't really there aren't a lot of character arcs in this movie.
Oh, you're talking about Bloodsport's Fear of Rats.
Well, yes, but more importantly, I'm going to get you out of here.
Yeah.
She saves his life. She saves all their lives.
Right, because they have that scene on the bus where he's like, I'm going to get you out of the way. I'm going to get you out of here alive.
Yeah. It's cute. I like it. And I like that he's like, also, we skipped over the scene where he's terrified of rats.
Yep.
And
because he's like, my father put me in
wait, like, you're a ruthless assassin? You're scared of rats? Like, I'm an assassin. Why would I have my liabilities? Like,
why don't let people know my liabilities?
Yeah. Idris Elba's so good in this.
Yeah.
He really is.
He's seamlessly good.
Yeah.
Like, because he's able to be...
It makes me look at him in the Thor movies and be like, oh, what a joke compared to this. Like, he's so fun.
He's so badass, but also so affable.
Also, I love his costume.
Yeah, it's really cool because he could have that helmet on and that just wearing like a wife beater, and it still looks slick.
Yeah.
It's tactical but neat. Everybody's costumes are very stripped down. I feel like
stupid intentionally, but like his.
But like in like the first Suicide Squad, everybody's tactical.
There's straps.
Yep.
Lots of straps.
Lots of straps.
For Harley. Like,
but everybody's like, very tactical.
Except for El Diablo, who is in a wife beater. Maybe all the costumes should just be like, we're in wife beaters.
But everyone has like a comic booky outfit. They look silly, but they're also causing carnage, and that's kind of the fun.
Yeah.
That's kind of fun back and forth. That's what you get out of something like The Boys. Like I feel like people who like The Boys are going to love this movie because it's also everyone's wearing stereotypical golden age superhero costumes, but they're also melting people.
I think there's a couple. I think I really liked this movie. Do you want to get into the rewrite?
So here's some things I would change, and this is after thinking about it. If you're going to have Harley Quinn in this movie, cameo, maybe at like the very end. Mm-hmm. Make it like a big surprise. Maybe like Team C shows up, and
What if the Joker is in the palace, like as a guest?
There could be something there.
And she's like, she tumbles down the rabbit hole again, and like has like a panic
break out
attack.
of it. Or it's a delusion or something. But like have it so that's like it's a completely different team. Flag is still running it. We got pretty much the same team. It's Flag still running it and everything. You can have some more of these little characters show up. And I like the idea you have of like the reason the other team can't get off the beach is because they're a bunch of backhanding assholes and they get themselves killed.
Or at least they get killed, but not all of them, and they still make it through. So we can kill more of them later.
Exactly, and you can have some more creative ways of wiping some of these guys out. I think we all agree. A lot of people agree it would have been nice to have this Dirty Dozen last a little longer. The joke is still solid. I get it.
I would still kill Pete Davidson. This is the exact same
I would
way.
I would still have been like, wow, what's going on? His head explodes.
But I think I would kill him worse. I would do that like in Army of the Dead where the guy shoots the zombie and he just turns into like hamburger.
It's Hitler where he's just getting just turned to a rubber body. Have it like at the very end, Team C shows up, and it's Harley Quinn, it's Boomerang, it's Croc. Like bringing some of if you have to bring these characters, like have them come in.
That could be cool.
Have it like some of the old team shows up as the reinforcements to mop everything up, and it's like a big like, all right, but they're not the focus of the character because Harley's whole thing. I feel like you could have that moment and have it be like Ratcatcher.
The screenwriter in me says, if you're gonna have them, why wouldn't you just have them in the mission from the beginning?
Because I know they're not. I know realistically they're not going to kill her off. And I don't know if I would even have that done in this movie.
Yeah.
If it hadn't been Margot Robbie, if it hadn't been some bigger thing, like then maybe. But I don't even think I would be like I'm gonna have Margot Robbie murdered on this movie. It's too. I think it would sour everybody too quickly. You got to be careful with that.
Yeah.
You could kill her off in the movie, but it's got to be later.
There's also not a good reason why Katana wasn't here.
Yeah.
Because we didn't get shit from Katana in the last movie, and I would have loved to see her sword steal a man's soul.
Because like you by that movie being so PG-13, you get a lot of lack of carnage, and this is full hard R.
Yeah.
So like that sword could be Kill Bill and folks.
Yeah.
And the soul stealing could be more graphic and more like
Shang Tsung ripping its soul out.
What's his name? Cabal pops up from behind. He's gonna steal. He's gonna steal his soul out. He's gonna suck his soul out.
So what else?
I think that you need to trim this villainy out. Get rid of all these characters and bring. If you got to have a dictator type, you got to have like.
I just had a great. Keep going.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No. You keep finishing yours. I'll do mine.
I think having all these different Generalissimos and all these different named people, it's like, oh, we got to watch out for this guy, and this guy. Cut all that out. Have it be like you could have the Thinker and Starro and all that, and that be sort of like still there because that's a fun little like Lovecraftian Eldritch thing that happens, and it fits the tone. I'm fine with that, but have like a different principal villain as like the main villain, as like the main guy, and it's not Thinker, but like, or it could be Thinker. It could be have Peter Capaldi do his thing where he's very good at that. He's good at being an asshole. Have him do like his thing from The Thick of It, where he's playing Malcolm Tucker. and is just like, oh, listen here, you fuckity fuck suck fucking, and he's still a smart guy.
Yeah.
Fine, that's fine. But you have too many of these characters that are inconsequential. Trim that down and have one bigger main guy where he's got evil machinations and he's like, I plan to do this.
Yeah, I think the subplot of the generals and the freedom of that country, not to sound insensitive to people who are fighting for freedom around the world.
Trust me, I get it. It makes sense because this is that makes sense on a political level. But just trim it down.
I would just be like, it's too freshly happened. There is no freedom fighters yet. Just you don't need to address that yet.
I would be fine if it was something like if there was and we get more time with them
just at the
and
very
they're
end.
with the characters throughout, like Sol Sierra is like a character that you join with, or there's like a team of mercs that they join with or something. Like take out so many of these side points and keep it narrowed.
Yeah.
Again, I thought about Birds of Prey and how Birds of Prey was so focused. This could use more focus while still having fun along the way, but you can have a stronger narrative.
Okay, let me get to mine real quick.
All
I just
right.
had a killer idea.
I'm not done, but you get pop in.
That's fine. So here's my idea. You start the movie basically the same way. Pete Davidson gets turned into Hamburger Helper or whatever. You don't kill all of them, and some of your secondary characters manage to fight through this ambush and meet up with the second team. I would say Mongal, because I think it's a great opportunity for her to like kill some bad guys or whatever. Maybe Harley and Flag. I would bypass them getting captured by like the Sol Syria or the other people.
Right.
And they're just they just have to meet up with this other team to fight their way through to the city or whatever. So we can still, that way we can, instead of having we kill a bunch of guys by accident scene, we have a bunch of fights where we get like the team fighting together.
Where it's almost like the opening of Predator. Because I feel like this is a reference to the opening of Predator, where Arnie and the whole team are just going in and laying waste.
And I would love to have like some backstories, like in the beginning when we're talking about like this is. Like Vermont gal, you could show like like I said to you, like a Dragon Ball Z style spaceship land, and she's like, I'm here to conquer this planet, and like she gets all the way
I'm
to
a representative of
she just rages through to a major city, and then like the army just launches a bunch of napalm at her until she's knocked out, and then they find a way to like inject the thing into her to keep her on the thing here.
I agree. I would like to see how all these people are like, because Savant is supposed to be like a tech like super hacker.
Yeah.
What, he fucking like steal from the NSA or something, but he's also like a badass.
I don't have to see all of their backstories, but some of them would be nice.
Just like little quick.
And I would still kill off Weasel or whatever, because Weasel technically lives.
Yeah, that's a big
end.
spoiler thing. One of the things is Weasel lives and runs off into there, essentially, I guess, to become the Chupacabra.
Yeah.
He's just gonna start killing kids.
I'd kill off Weasel. I'd kill off Javelin. I'd kill off Detachable Limb Man or whatever. I'd probably kill off Boomerang still, just to have some subversion, and the rest of them keep going forward or whatever, and they have a big battle before they actually reach the city. Harley Quinn doesn't get kidnapped by the general or whatever, so we bypass that completely, and then we are introduced later who our new military general is of this place, and his name is Vandal Savage.
There you go.
Yeah, an actual immortal DC villain who cannot be killed, and he has other more nefarious reasons for why he's here.
And like you could have a moment if you're doing that very similar to them discovering about Wonder Woman. Like you start seeing pictures like history books, like
Attila the Hun, like that's me.
Like
Alexander the Great, that was also me.
It was like, oh, I've been here for a while. I've been here at least since Cortez.
Or you could do one of my.
I came with Cortez back then. I've just been hanging out.
Yeah, you could do one of my favorite things, which is is it I think it's the cheetah who does it, where she's sick of him talking his shit, and she slashes him in the face and thinks she's killed him, and she turns around thinking that he's dead, and he gets up, he's out of focus, you see his wounds close up, and he just like turns around and beats the shit out of her, and it's like he's a master of tens of thousands of martial arts and like just a tried and tested killer, and so you have him being like, or you could have him as the general, or you could have him being like he's the worm tongue second in command who knows a little bit more than he lets on or whatever.
I think you got a character like Vandal Savage, you get a big actor, you get a pretty decent actor to play him, and he's
Cast what's the guy from oh god, who would be some good people for like Vandal Savage? Maybe like Anson Mount might be a pretty good idea.
Okay.
Or I'm trying to think of like who's intimidating enough but looks like he could still like be a lethal killer. That's a good one. I gotta think here a second. I almost want to say Stephen Lang, but he's too old.
He's too old
because he's immortal. The whole point is he's immortal.
And also Stephen Lang looks a little too much like who's the guy who's playing Deathstroke.
Joe Manganiello.
It was a little too much.
Joe Manganiello might not be a bad choice either, but he's Deathstroke.
Or you could make it somebody like a I was thinking of not Diego Luna, but like
not a bad choice either. But he's
what about Javier
Bardem?
Javier Bardem.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's not
I'm keeping that one.
As Vandal Savage.
Yeah. That's yeah. I'm using Javier Bardem.
I've been here
so and
for
as
a
you're
very
doing,
long
as
time.
and we could do it as they've kidnapped a special. And this is like all in my own fanfic brain.
Right,
They've
we're
kidnapped.
fanficking.
They've kidnapped a special metahuman or person of interest. We don't know who it is. The entire movie, we're guessing.
And that could be like Thinker is like his second in command. He's the one who's like working all these operations because it's like I was waiting for the proper moment to be able to take to the world stage. The world needs a god. It's too much chaos.
Yeah, and you could still have Starro there. As a matter of fact, like I might even keep Starro. But this, you could say like you have two objectives: acquire asset X, which is the person that's been kidnapped or captured by them. The next one is destroy Operation Starfish. And Starfish is Starro. We don't hide it. We just tell you who it is at the beginning. We just don't know how big Starro has gotten yet.
Right. We show that clip of like
Vandal Savage. Let's say Vandal Savage is because he often is in the comic books is in contact with other extraterrestrials, dark side, and he is working to make way for the ultimate power in the universe as he sees it or whatever. Things go on. We have a couple of character deaths, like maybe Mongal gets incinerated or something. Like we get an opportunity for these thugs to use some cool weapons of their own.
And that's where you could have some of like the backstabbery, like even someone like looking at our team, like you all are getting too chummy. You've forgotten what the message is, and I have to kill one of you to show it. And someone's got a knife up to someone.
Waller very rarely blows anyone's head off anymore.
And, well, it's also
she did it once in the first one and once here.
And her doing it to Savant, she felt very reticent of doing it. Like, don't make me do it. Don't make me do it. But when she did it to what's his name? Slipknot. She's just like, whatever.
Yeah.
Fuck you. And now she's like, Savant, don't make me do it. Don't make me do it. Fuck it.
We get into Project Starro. Stuff is going the same way, and maybe before the building actually blows up, or as it's about to, Flag. Or maybe not Flag. Let's do Bloodsport because he's a character that like. Flag's gonna die, so we'll have him. The stuff with John Cena unfolds the same way. Bloodsport gets to the basement, finds Project X. It's sealed behind a door. He fights a bunch of guards. Big action sequence. Uses some of his cool gadgets. Finally presses the button. It opens, and in front of us we have a Green Lantern. Maybe like an alien Green Lantern, but if it was up to me, I would be like, make it like Guy Gardner or somebody, like a human Green Lantern who assists them in the fight with Starro.
If it's Guy Gardner, that really helps because then he can just be an asshole and like cuss and everything.
Cast Channing Tatum and make him Guy Gardner.
I want a redhead.
I would have said Army Hammer, but he's
no. Army Hammer is a super.
He's a literal asshole.
I'm trying to think if there's any redheads out there that would have been good.
I'm sure
because he's always been historically redheaded.
Yeah. Well, now he's not. Now he's a little more like a dirty blonde, and he has like the fuck boy haircut or something. But I'm trying to think of a good what's a good. I don't know any famous redhead actors. Rupert Grint
that are actually like big dudes. Yeah. Thing that are actually like because Ed Skrein did come to mind, but.
He'd be like a better like Simon Baz or something. He looks good bald. Like he doesn't look good with hair.
Yeah, I can't think of anybody for this guy.
But anyway, you have Guy Gardner, and people are like, "What are you?" And he's like, "What do I look like, man?" Like, I'm a space cop, and he opens the door and like flies off to like fight Starro with the team or whatever. Have him use some cool gadgets. It would be such a boss fucking move, a Chad James Gunn move to just be like, I put a Green Lantern in my
here,
movie,
motherfucker.
and
what?
nobody told me I couldn't, like or whatever.
I got the DC universe to use. I got Green Lantern, and because it's...
And it would strong. And then at the very end of the movie, if you want to like get the fans on your side, have Darkseid call into Vandal Savage and be like, he's like, "Are you on your way, my lord?" And he's like, "Yes." It's like, "Good." And he's like, "Operation Starro is a failure," or whatever. And have him. He's like,
so you would keep Vandal Savage alive?
Oh no, Vandal Savage is like a great villain. Keep him around.
Yeah.
This is like your way of introducing him and like what he's actually up to. Because like here's the thing about Vandal Savage is like what he wants a lot of times are like very amorphous things. Sometimes like, and it changes as he grows older.
Right.
Like at first he wants to be a conqueror, and then he realizes conquering the world and unifying it that way isn't possible because I don't have that kind of power. I am, for all intents and purposes, just a man. But Darkseid is more than a man. Darkseid is absolution. Like there's a lot of them. Like when he comes into contact with Darkseid, he sees him as the solution to all of his problems. His only regret is that I can't be the unifying force, but I can at least aid the unifying force in bringing all of humanity together. The Wonder One's unifying purpose. Also, he has daughters sometimes as well. In the Suicide Squad, in the Hell to Pay, he's a villain in that too. But I can't remember what happens to him. Does he die? I can't remember. Trying to think. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But like that would be like how I would do this, because you get a cameo, and Starro is really not the main thrust of it, but rather like the mechanics of what Vandal Savage is doing kind of is your main focus. But also Starro is a zombifying threat,
right?
And also you get a Green Lantern in it
to fight off a creature like that.
Yeah, because you would or whatever. And if you wanted to go really bad, like you could have him signal the Lantern Corps and have a bunch of backup come. That'd be cool.
Well, at that point, the Suicide Squad just like we'll just sit over here. Yeah.
No, don't do that, because then you nerf the Suicide Squad. But you want them to work together, and then maybe like he says something like he asks Harley for her number or something because he's a douche and he would do that.
What's up, bro?
You wanna talk to me? Whatever. I don't know. But other than that, I think the bones of the movie are really good. I just think it's a couple of little things here.
And of course, like Peacemaker isn't dead. They bring him back, and he's gonna be like you fucked me over, but you're gonna be my enforcer now.
Yeah. Oh, the Peacemaker fight, because that should after he kills Flag. There's the moment where he meets Idris Elba. I think what should have happened is, instead of having like it's not a joke, but it's kind of like more of like a funny way to kill him. He doesn't die.
Right.
I think what should have happened is they should have tried to shoot each other and realized they're both out of bullets, and they have to go
toe-to-toe.
like use their gadgets and go toe to toe, and then Idris Elba just kicks the shit out of him. I would have loved that.
That would have been really satisfying too.
Especially because like at that point John Cena's kind of earned it, and Idris Elba. Here's what I like about Idris Elba's character. Like he doesn't profess to be like Deadshot. The thing about Deadshot for me that is like, I like Will Smith in that movie. I think he does a good job with what he's given. I don't think Deadshot is a man who will kill anybody for, I was going to say any amount of money. That's not true. He'll kill anyone for money, even a woman or a child. He doesn't care. Now, usually he says, like, people don't tend to want to pay me millions of dollars to kill a child.
Well, also, Deadshot is this character that has a lot more history.
He's a master marksman.
Yeah, and he's an A-lister. He's an A-lister villain, at least, or at least a high B.
Yeah.
Bloodsport isn't.
Bloodsport is a C-lister, but I like the fact that he doesn't try to make himself more tough than he is.
Yeah, he doesn't
try to portray himself as this ultimate badass. If anything, he is very much like for fuck's sake. Like he's just kind of perpetually over it.
Yeah.
But he still has it's not a great moral compass, but he has a functioning moral compass.
Right. The whole thing is like also the by the end of the movie he leverages the deal with Waller, and it's just like, if you try to kill any of us, we'll
And he likes Flag.
Yeah.
So the fact that he killed Flag would have put more stakes in it.
Yeah.
And it would have been nice to see him like throat chop John Cena or whatever, and maybe like at the end he
see this.
Maybe at the end he gets to use some more of his like bladed weapon gadgets that we see him for a second,
doing some cuts on him and everything.
Yeah. And
that
like
would have been
maybe
something
he
like
stabs him in the neck.
Ratcatcher says like he killed Flag. and it's like you motherfucker.
Yeah.
And
I just feel like that would have been more, and because we're kind of cutting some of the fat from earlier and like getting rid of like Harley's whole sequence, you'd have to find something else for Harley to do to like just give her more action. Is what I would say. Just let her have more action and be zany.
yeah, or at least a little more humbled, a little more like I've been here before.
Get rid of Milton. Keep Polka Dot Man alive at the end. Maybe Polka Dot Man is saved by the lantern. That'd have been dope. Like he's busy doing the thing and it's about to fall on him, and the lantern like creates like a Gundam to catch the.
Yeah, it'd be a giant robot.
Well, they do that all the time.
They can make anything.
Yeah.
It's an infinite constructs.
Have him make a bunch of giant anti-aircraft like guns, just
And that would be very James Gunn. Is like you see him just create all these different things and just like makes like a howitzer cannon on a rooftop and blasts a big green bullet.
Yeah, it would be. I feel like this is like it's a nice medium between what Gunn would want to do and like what I would want to see, and kind of meets in the middle. Anyway, that's all I have.
Yeah, and that's the same. I would just say, trim some of the fat, lean it in, make a better end villain, do all that stuff, and you got a good. Either way, I still like the movie I got. It's a blast. I'll watch it again. It's a lot of fun.
I thought about watching it last night on HBO Max when my phone died.
Yeah, I thought about watching it, but I was too tired after work.
Yeah. It's a good movie.
It's a good movie.
I'm pretty solid.
And I can't wait to actually see more of these characters again. Like
I can't wait to see. Like I say, I can't wait to see. I play a sad little violin for Snyder's Justice League sequels every day, but like I am excited to see like how are all these characters going to interact going forward.
Right.
Are we going to see Shazam pop up in some of these? Maybe not like obviously not like a Suicide Squad movie or whatever, but like seeing someone like Black Adam or Shazam or Aquaman, like it would be awesome if like Aquaman had like a cameo in like this movie because of King Shark. Yeah, like imagine Aquaman
or King Shark shows up in the further Aquamans or something.
Or imagine like King Shark's how they captured him is like, because we asked it like, how do you capture that? Mm-hmm. How?
That would have to be Aquaman.
And like, imagine Aquaman like fights him and beats him.
Do you think he'd be weak to Aquaman's like being like his spell on
well, this is
marine life?
This is where you can't make him an idiot though,
right?
Because Aquaman can control like you should watch Aquaman. There's a great moment where before he reclaims the trident is guarded by this giant behemoth like Cthulhu creature called the Karothid or whatever, and it's voiced by Mary Poppins. Who's it? Julie Andrews.
Julie Andrews.
Yeah, she's voiced by him, and she's like I can't remember what she says. Like thousands have tried to claim Atlan's trident, and he goes, but I have never sensed one as unworthy as you with your mongrel half-breed blood. And he charges at her because he's like, don't talk shit about me. And she just swats him aside like he's nothing. And then she tries to kill him, and he does the joo, 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 joo. It's like they use that effect. They don't use it in Snyder's, but in Aquaman, James said he wanted a visual representation of him talking, so he went back to the old Super Friends.
So
and he does that, and like she realizes he can hear her and understand her or whatever. And he goes like, who are you or whatever? And he goes like, I am a mongrel half-breed. And he goes, I know I'm not worthy of the trident. I'm just here because I have my friends and my people that I love, and the trident's their only hope. And he goes, if that's not good enough for you, then go fuck yourself or whatever. And then she goes, all right, I'll let you try. But if you fail, I'm going to eat you or whatever. And he goes up and he yanks the trident out. The music swells up, and he can control, like you see this nervous system of the sea as he goes from the tiniest krill to whales to the mind of the Karothid. He can control it himself. Brilliant. So like it's fucking awesome. But like you can't, if King Shark is an idiot, then he would just be like, you're nice now. Mm-hmm. You need to make him malicious enough to like the human side of his brain, because he's a shark man, won't listen to him. So you need to have a reason for an actual fight scene.
A tussle.
And then Aquaman beats him handedly and then drops him on the shore of Washington, D.C. I don't know, like something like that. And that's how they get him.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. And I think where
Jason Momoa would 100% say yes to that cameo.
Oh yeah. Good crew. I like this movie a lot. I also have my faults with it as well. Yeah. It is a big cartoony mess.
Like I said, I think the bones are strong. I don't know if I would say it's a mess, because I feel like it stays on mission for the most part. I just feel like we get a little too bogged down, like this side quest and then this side quest and then this side quest. Yeah, and I'm like trim some of that stuff out. But I think it's aided by the fact that it doesn't have a big long intro. It just goes.
It gets going,
which is very smart.
I like that.
Good movie.
I got nothing else.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah. So you guys go check out the Suicide Squad. Maybe they'll make a sequel. Probably. I bet you they'll.
I think we'll see. I think this is the last time we're going to see his characters.
I don't know if it'll be James Gunn, but I bet he'll be back doing something
else.
else.
We'll get Peacemaker in a series for HBO Max.
That's
right. With John Cena returning, so it's very possible we'll see some of these old characters returning as well. And who knows? We may see another Suicide Squad. There's a lot of characters to pull out.
Yeah. Well, this has been an episode of The Movie Date with Rob and Matt, a podcast for people who like to talk about movies but don't want to be too smug about it.
That's right.
I've been Rob.
I've been Matt.
And you can catch us on Facebook and iTunes and Podbean and YouTube. Leave us comments below. Please subscribe. It helps us more than you think. And let us know what movies you'd like us to talk about next.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And we will see you guys on the next time.
Take it easy.
Bye-bye.